Okay, how to train towards a sub 40-minute 10K. Now, you can apply the training sessions that I'm about to give you, whether you're training for a sub 40-minute 10K, sub 50-minute 10K, sub 70-minute 10K. You can make these sessions work for you and your pacing. Starting point is a big factor. Now, it stands to reason that if your starting point is currently you've just done 5K in 20 minutes, then it's not that big a leap for you to train your endurance, to keep that speed in your game and train towards a 40-minute 10K. It's also not that big a leap if your current PB is 42 or 43 minutes and you've got to go less than 10% to get that sub 40 10K. So you've got to think about your starting point. If your current starting point is 50 minutes or 60 minutes for the 10K, it may take you longer, but also factor in this. If you've never looked into speed work, if you've never done an interval session, if you've never focused really on structure or a structured long run to build your endurance and stamina, these are big parts of your game that are going to work together to compound the effects and to get you exponential gains. So once you tap into these things, and not only tap into them, but get them right, the results can be really shocking for you. So never underestimate that and always have your hat in the ring. Always go for it because you can surprise yourself with consistent training. Here's how I'd go about it. Now, 40 minutes for 10K is 4 minutes per kilometer. 1 minute would equal 250 meters. So we think about that. And we also think about 10%. What is 10% of 4 minutes? 4 minutes is 240 seconds, so 10% faster, or 10% slower, sorry, would be 4 minutes and 24. 10% faster would be 3:36, so 24 seconds less than 4 minutes. Those are things important to keep in mind when you're training towards that. And as I said, if you're training for a sub 50-minute 10K or a sub 60-minute 10K or whatever, you can apply these times and these percentages. It all makes sense. Now, here's how I'd start, and this is what I would do. First session, interval session. Wednesday interval sessions, weekend, Sunday long runs. Those are nicely spread out so that you can do the Sunday long run, you can attack that, you can gain the super compensation, and you can recover ready for the Wednesday interval session. Wednesday interval session is the biggest session of the week, so it's going to take the most out of you. But it's about pushing. It's about getting the most out of yourself, but not going too far so that you get injured or ill. It's about the consistency over the training program. So that first interval session, I do 20 times 1 minute. And the pace that I would be aiming at is 15 seconds faster than the pace that I'm trying to run 10K in. So 4 minutes per kilometer, 40 minutes 10K, I'm gonna run 10% faster. So for those minute intervals, I'm gonna run them at 3:45 pace. It stands to reason again, the faster you can run those 20 times 1 minute with 60 seconds rest in between, always keep 60 seconds as a constant recovery. The faster you can run those, the more raw speed you've got, the more natural speed you've got, the easier the goal is going to be once you factor in endurance and stamina. Super important. So if you can do those 10% quicker, do them at 3:36 per kilometer, it's going to put you in a better place to run the sub 40-minute 10K, but also for the rest of the training. Incredibly important. Then what I would start to do is start upping the volume of the interval session. I want to up it a little bit, and a good way to judge the volume of an interval session for 10K running, I like to do between 24 and 30 minutes of hard work in my interval session. So we started with those short, sharp minute reps, and on the second week, what I'm going to do, just talking and focusing on the interval session at the moment, on the second week, I'm going to be doing 12 times 2 minutes. And I'm going to run those at 15 seconds quicker per kilometer, or 10% quicker. So I'm getting used to running for 2 minutes. There's less reps than 20, there's only 12 reps, but it's twice as long than a minute. It's a 2-minute rep. And focus on that time. So I'm focusing on building efficiency at working faster than my goal 10K pace. Incredibly important. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring the reps down way more. I'm gonna just do 6 reps, but I'm gonna do kilometer repeats. What I want you to do for those is figure out where you are in the plan and where that interval session goes in the 13 weeks and what pace you can run for it. If you right now can do 6 times a kilometer with 60 seconds rest in between, and you can do that at 4-minute pace, at the pace, the target pace for your 10K, fantastic. If you can run at 15 seconds faster at 3:45 per kilometer, or 10% faster than goal pace at 3:36 per kilometer, you're putting yourself in a better place. It's going to make you stronger because for longer, and we're only early on in the training program, but for longer, it's going to feel more comfortable for you to run at a 4-minute pace. It's all about making the body feel comfortable. At those longer distances, 10K, half marathon, marathon, it's about making the body feel comfortable so that you can push, but your heart rate is under control, your breathing is under control, and you're ready to let rip in the final third. Incredibly important. What I then start to do is you've got to keep the interval session fun. You've got to, for me, it's the most fun session in a week. When I get to taste blood, it's when I get to see my heart rate raise and then recover during the rep. Incredibly important to get right. There's more nervousness, there's more anxiety to do with that session than the race. I know when I get to the race that if I blocked off the interval sessions and the long runs, I'm going to put myself in a really good place to run the target time. Then what I would do is make that next session really fun, and I'd do 15 times 250 meters hill reps. Use your hill. If you need to use a treadmill, great. It's super convenient, super efficient. 250 meter hill, and get that gradient at about 6-7%, from 5 to 7% will do you nicely. And have that either on the treadmill or outside. If it's a short hill that you've got access to, try to run down, but in a calm way so that you're recovering on the way back down. You want to keep, if you're on a treadmill or you're on a long hill where you're just able to keep running, whenever I'm in Granada or Chiang Mai, I've got access to a 20K hill or a 40K hill. It's brilliant for this type of session, but not everybody has access to that. Keep the rest wherever you possibly can at 60 seconds rest. So you're teaching the heart rate to go from high to recovered, ready to do the next rep. If you're in control of each rep, then you're going to be in control of the session. And with a session like that, like 15 times 250 meters uphill, it's going to be difficult, especially if you're new to hills, but it's a session that you need to pace right. And the way that I would group those reps in my head is do 3 times 5 minutes. Still all the way through 60 seconds rest recovery, but I group them in my head. Okay, I've done the first 5. Okay, I've done the middle 5. Okay, I'm on the last 5. Fantastic. And that helps me get through those sessions and really, really push. Important. Then what I'd progress on to is slightly longer rep and do 2-kilometer reps. So we're aiming at that 8 minutes. And if you can go 15 seconds per kilometer faster or 10%, so at 336 pace per kilometer, fantastic. Again, it puts you in a really good place, but it's a big session. If we do 3 times 2 kilometers and that's at goal 10K pace, that's already a big session. So don't worry at this stage if you can only hold that goal pace. It's a really good session, just 60 seconds in between each 2-kilometer rep. Then over the weeks, take that up to 4 times 2 kilometers. If you can do 4 times 2 kilometers with 60 seconds rest in between, nicely bringing the heart rate down, in control of the session, if you can hit that in goal 10K time in 4 minutes per kilometer, you're in a great place to run that 10 kilometers in 40 minutes or less. Really, really great place. And it builds a lot of confidence. Incredibly important. What I then build up to is something like 3 times 10 minutes with 60 seconds rest in between at my goal race pace. So at 4 minutes per kilometers. So 3 times 10 minutes with 60 seconds rest in between. And I'm aiming for each one of those reps. There's only 3 of them, but I've got to get them right. And get into those, make sure you're well warmed up for all these interval sessions. Whenever you go fast, make sure you're well warmed up and ready to go for the interval. But you want to be pushing, but feeling like you're under control. And if that means backing off a little bit to make it feel like you're under control and maybe you're at 4:05, 4:10 pace, absolutely fine. We're working to the medium to long-term goal. And although it's a 13-week program and we've got an imminent goal, it's more important that we hit this target in the long term. If we get to race day, and you can only hold 4 minutes per kilometer for 7 kilometers or 8 kilometers, think of it as a win. It's a massive win if you can do that off the back of a structured training program that you've executed, interval sessions, endurance and stamina on your long run, you've executed, you know what to do, you're getting towards your taper, you're freshening up the legs, and then you're going for it, but it doesn't quite work out, and you only get to 8 kilometers in 4 minutes per kilometer. That's a big win for me. And it's only a matter of training before you can then do it. On the long run, I do something really similar. So if you're looking at the week, Monday to Sunday, and as I said, Wednesday interval session, weekend long run, the weekend long run would look something like whatever your start point is right now. If that's an hour, if it's an hour and 15, if it's an hour and 30, great. I'd work with about an hour and 15 to an hour and 30. So if you need to build up to that point, build up to that point. Once you've got past the long, slow distance, you can get into a specific long run and start to factor in the middle of the long run, start to factor in 12 times 2. And again, work with about 24 to 30 minutes of hard work within the long run. So that might look like, okay, I'm gonna do 25 minutes, pretty comfortable, pretty easy, about 5-minute pace, and then I'm gonna do 12 times 2 minutes with 60 seconds float or 60 seconds rest in between. And I'm gonna work at hitting either goal 10K pace or 15 seconds faster or 10% faster. It's going to be hard for you initially to hit 10% faster, depending on your start point. If you've already ran a quick time for the 5K and you're just trying to draw a line under 40 minutes for the 10K before moving faster, this could be quite an easy session for you. But if you need to do that at 10K pace, still a difficult session. It's 12 times 2 minutes in the middle, and then you're finishing off the session with 20, 25 minutes at around about 5 minutes pace, or even less, whatever feels comfortable for you. Then I'd play with that 24 to 30 minutes. So I'd put 6 times 4 minutes, maybe 6 times 5 minutes, 3 times 10 minutes, and then 2 times 15 minutes. And that 2 times 15 minutes, once I'd built up to that, so you got 25 minutes, for example, you got 25 minutes on the end, and then you've got 2 times 15 minutes with just a minute in between. If you can get to that point together with your interval sessions that are building raw speed and building that speed endurance, you're gonna put yourself in a great place for the race day. I'd use a taper of about 10 to 14 days, depending on what works for you, and it's self-experiment. It may be a little bit longer works for you. For me, 9 to 10 days is the sweet spot. And I'd use that taper where I'd back off the volume, bring the volume down, keep the intensity the same, and then go for it on race day. And if you've done a lot of those sessions and you've kept that consistency Wednesday and Sunday, and tapped into your speed, endurance and stamina, then you are in perfect place to go for a sub 40 minute. And if that's your goal, then go for it. Have your hat in the ring, commit, go for it. And as I said, if you get to 7 or 8K and you don't quite have it, or it means you're really holding on to get to the end, see that as a success, because you've been able to manage to execute a training program. And if this is your first training program where you've implemented structure and started to get the benefit from those key sessions, the future is bright. If you got anything from this or recent videos, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.